increasing your rental income on your investment properties, if you already have investment properties, that's going to help. But the more you can increase it by, and if you've got the more the properties, that's going to help. And if you've got credit card debt and you haven't paid off the credit card, that's going to affect the borrowing capacity dramatically. I always kind of spark the question to my clients, have you ever considered maybe investing in a company or a trust and getting the right advice, making sure you've got the right team around you. So the right broker that understands investing in a different entity, and of course the accountant understanding what you're trying to do with your personal goals, and so they can help you and point you in the right direction.
We believe every Australian deserves a right to own at the very least 5 investment properties. I'm Adrian and Trimboli.
And I'm Frank Ambesi, and welcome to the Invest in You podcast.
We're back, Frank. Welcome again, my friend.
Second episode for the year.
I'm excited. How to increase your borrowing capacity, Frank? That's today's topic.
I think it's a good topic for, people wanting to grow their portfolio through different types of strategies here on what you can do. And I think it'll just open up the brain to different scenarios and different opportunities for that, the Australian investor. So where you want to start, Age?
First of all, I just want to start with all of these things are not pie in the sky stuff, right? These are all things that we've done for ourselves. These are all things that we will have checklists for our clients when they settle, and 6 months down the track and 12 months and 24 months down the track. Cool, this is what you can do. So these are real actionable items. So if you listen, it's going to be a short podcast. If you listen for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, it's just going to be jam-packed. Take notes or re-listen to it again, because we're just going to give you action steps, ultimately. Now, there's not necessarily action steps, but we're going to be just throwing things out to you that we've done for ourselves, done for our clients. Maybe let's start at the most obvious one, Frank, which is your income, if you want to touch on that.
Yeah, just look, increasing your income is going to be probably the key motive here and the most beneficial to increasing your borrowing capacity. I always, project this on my clients, and I got a client recently, he's got a 15K increase on his income just by asking his employer. And so now he's going back to the broker saying, yep, you can go again. Let's help you with your borrowing capacity, and we can go get another property. So just having the conversation, and the conversations go a long way, So just having a chat with your employer and just seeing what you can do moving forward. There's other ways of what you can do, I think, by getting a second job. So getting a second job as well is going to help, of course, depending on what that second job looks like. If it's a business, of course, a business, then you need 2 years of invoices to use those financials to help increasing your borrowing capacity. But then if you get a second job and you're working as a PAYG for an employer, depending on how long you're in the role, you can use those financials as well to help increase your borrowing capacity as well. So these are ways you can increase your borrowing capacity. And then, of course, if you've got a partner or a spouse or someone who wants to come on board and help build wealth together, maybe a friend or a family member, that there is going to help as well to increase your borrowing capacity dramatically.
Yeah, and I think the reason why I wanted to start with this, Frank, is because you can go down trust structures, you can go down doing all these different funny, cool things, right? Unfortunately, because of the way the banking system works, and dare I say, it should work like this. If you're earning $50,000, there is going to be a ceiling, regardless, whatever way you spin it, whatever way you do it. You need to be earning a good income. Now, not to get started, we're talking about if you want to build up an awesome portfolio. The bigger the income, the easier it is to lend. Pretty simple. Let's get into the next one.
Now, increasing your rental income on your investment properties, if you already have investment properties, that's going to help. Of course, now some lenders, of course, they cap it out. They only take 80% of the rental income. But the more you can increase it by, and if you've got the more the properties, that's going to help. So, just having a look at your rental income for the year, seeing what your property manager is advising, seeing if you can get that a little bit more by just doing your own research in the market. Renovations, this is quite important. We do this with our clients. We do strategy sessions. How can we increase the rent? I've got a client where we're trying to increase the rent by $80. So we're looking at doing a paint, carpet, putting some appliances into the property, and we're trying to get around $70, $80 extra a week. And that's going to, help with their cash flow position as well as their borrowing capacity. maybe, adding a granny flat onto the property, or a bungalow, or like a concealed unit at the back, or converting the garage into another bedroom. These are ways you can increase the rent a fair bit. And then, of course, you can even do like a student accommodation. So that there, of course, there's a law involved, but, you can rent out a number of rooms out to students, and that there you can rent them out maybe $300 a week per room, and have, if you've got 4 bedrooms, you do your maths, the cash flow increases quite dramatically. Or you can convert the house into a rooming house. So like these are just little nifty ways that you can do this. Some of these are more expensive than others, but of course, for someone that's already got a property and just want to try and increase their cash flow, just doing a small renovation, looking at the cosmetics, and then of course, actioning that and making sure you're not overspending and making sure you're getting a good return on that. So that's quite important too, because you don't want to outlay $20,000-$30,000 and you only increase rent by $20-$30 a week. It's not really worth it. So you got to make sure you do cost analysis on that also.
Yep. And I think a good point here is if you've got your 2-3 properties and they've performed well, but you haven't necessarily purchased, properties and straight away turned it into a granny flat or done the renovation, that's generally speaking, when you kind of get to the point of, I'm at a bit of a ceiling, this is when you can implement a lot of these things. So don't freak out if you've got 1-2 properties and you're then going, oh crap, well, hang on, can I do renovation? Just calm the farm. These will come as you become more of a sophisticated investor, as you keep listening to things and reading books and learning more about it, right? Cool. I like the next one, Frank, which is, refinancing your interest rates and being quite active with this approach. Some of our best clients are the ones that are looking every single year, every single 6 months, what else is out on the market, what else is out on the market. Now, to the mortgage brokers listening, you're probably not going to be happy with us saying this, but if you're an awesome mortgage broker, and if you do have an awesome mortgage broker, they should also be actively doing this for you. Hey, bang, there's a lower interest rate here. Hey, we can refinance this and do that. That is going to have a dramatic and drastic effect on your cash flow, but again, on your borrowing capacity as you keep doing it.
Yeah, correct. Even just doing a phone call to the bank. So if you're already refinancing, let's say you've been with the lender for a couple months, calling up the bank, and I've done this actually not long ago, and actually reduced my rate about 0.5% by just calling up and saying, can you get a rate review? And that there, of course, that's not going to help the borrowing capacity too much, but this is even just doing it from a maintenance point of view of just lowering that rate a little bit. These are like some little nifty tricks of what you can do. So that definitely there will always help, just that little bit.
Yeah.
I guess the next one is quite important, and some people don't take this into consideration. They don't think about this, but credit card limits. So if you've got a credit card, because sometimes we've got clients that got 3-4 credit cards, that there is going to affect your borrowing capacity dramatically. So, if you can get rid of some of these credit cards, if you don't need 3, just have 1, and the lower the limit on the card, the easier it is to increase your borrowing capacity. So the higher the limit, of course, is going to affect your borrowing capacity much more. And if you've got credit card debt and payments that you haven't paid off the credit card, that's going to affect the borrowing capacity dramatically. So that share is very important. I remember I had a credit card when I first purchased my first property, put a limit on it. It was $10,000, and then my broker called me up. He goes, Frank, can you put it lower? I go, yeah, I can get it down to $6,000. That's the lowest. He's like, beautiful. That gives you an extra $50,000 on your borrowing capacity. I was like, all right, beautiful. Let's go. So these little things can help dramatically.
Yeah, I love it. Then there's the standard stuff, right? Cutting your expenses and trying to minimize as much as you possibly can, which little plug here, Frank, I might plug our little budget calculator after this, if anyone wants it. We've got an awesome budget calculator, which you and I use, I guess the whole team uses, and also all of our clients. And it just tracks your expenses. So I know what you like to say for this, Frank, so I'm stealing your thunder. Netflix accounts, or, if you're eating out on certain days, or you're doing all these particular things, don't ruin your life. Do not be eating, toast and Vegemite and that's it. That's all you're eating, right? But where can you, and just asking the question, where can you save? Because that, again, one, on your lifestyle is going to assist with that, but also from a borrowing perspective.
Yeah, definitely. Every bit helps. You might be signed up to subscriptions, articles, whatever it may be, gym memberships. I recommend you go to the gym, but, things that you're not using, cut them out. That will help dramatically. And the more you save, the more you can put towards another deposit or put towards the offset account. I think a big one is as well, which is the next one, is reducing, personal debt, car loan debt, student loan debt, this is probably the big key factor. And we get a lot of clients, especially young Australians, you got student loan debt, and that's okay. But if we can minimize that as fast as possible, or car loan debts, it's going to help dramatically also.
For sure.
And just be wise. I think just want to put a plug there. Some people go out and get car loan debts and they want to upgrade the car, and that there can cause a lot of problems if you no need to do that. If you can hold out and drive the car for another 1 or 2 years, that you've got your old banged up car for a bit, and then upgrade when the time is right. I think delayed gratification can help and go a long way.
Yeah, I just want to highlight here, right, because we're probably sounding like two old men, grumpy old men saying we can't say, people can't say, not at all. You don't have to listen to any of this, right? But people who are listening to this, dare I say that people who are wanting to continue to learn and, you guys are wanting to be property investors. This is what's worked for us. This is what's worked for a lot of our clients. If you also like, it can also work for you. So there's nothing wrong with cars. There's nothing wrong with spending everything. We are going to be dead one day, and that's completely fine if you go out and spend as you like. Probably have more fun than us. Maybe not. I have fun doing how I do. But yeah, I just want to highlight that, right? No, you don't have to listen to any of this stuff. It's just what's worked for us. It's what helped us build the portfolio we have. So yeah,
definitely.
Frank.
Keep rolling. I guess the next one will be, saving up more of a deposit. Sometimes you might get close to your maximum. The only way you can get access to credit is, you might get a small amount of credit that you can borrow from the banks. If you've got a high amount of deposit, you might be able to get a bit of a loan, and that can help you get into the next property. So, pretty simple, pretty standard. The next one is if you've got, PPR debt, your family home debt, that they're reducing that debt is going to help dramatically also. Not to say you'll be able to release a little bit more equity by doing that as well, but just keep that in mind. Sometimes just paying the minimal repayments is not going to help too much, because on average, it's about $5,000 off the principal when you're just paying the bare minimum on the principal and interest repayments. And that can go for as well investment properties also. So it helps, yes, but will it help in a short period of time? Not necessarily if you're just paying the minimal. If you start to increase those, those principal repayments on a weekly basis, that can definitely help by a year or two in advance.
Yeah, we're kind of going off topic here, but people have investment loans. People also have their PPR. There's debt on both. We get this question so much. We get this question so often. And you're always better off paying off that PPR loan first. Always. It's not tax deductible. It's not cash producing. The investment loans, they're all tax deductible. So actually having that debt is, beneficial. Obviously, the goal is to pay everything off. But if you've got loans on both, always paying off PPR loan. I always say, always keep the investment loans on interest only, keep the PPR on principal and interest, and pay down that. And exactly what you said, pay it off on a weekly basis as opposed to monthly, which we'll kind of touch on that in a few little.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the last two here are quite vital parts. I think the next one is, taking your mortgage term back to 30 or 40 years. Okay. And so what I mean by this is, let's say you've taken out a 30-year home loan for your investment property. You've owned it for about 5 years. The shorter that year rate gets, and it starts to reduce, of course, the repayments start to bump up. Now, if you take it back to 30 years, then of course the repayments are going to spread over a 30-year time frame instead of, let's say, 25 years. So that there, if your mortgage broker is quite sweet, nifty, they can definitely start to look at doing these type of things to help increase your borrowing capacity and of course reduce your repayments as well, so then you don't have too many expenses per month, if that makes sense.
I like that. Yeah, absolutely. That's an excellent one. I really like that.
Yeah. And look, my last one, which is probably my favorite, is eventually you start to get close to tapping out your borrowing capacity in your own personal name. So before that kind of happens, I always kind of spark the question to my clients, have you ever considered maybe investing in a company or a trust and getting the right advice, making sure you've got the right team around you. So the right broker that understands investing in a different entity, and of course the accountant understanding what you're trying to do with your personal goals. And so they can help you and point you in the right direction, because if the accountant, their job is of course to help save you tax, of course. But if you've got a good accountant, they're there to help you build wealth. And so if they can understand your goals and what you're trying to do and your motives, and same with the broker, then of course investing in a different entity is always going to be the best option depending on the circumstances. Personally, there's a good one. So hopefully that makes sense. Age, I guess, do you want to touch on that? I know we both invest in a different entity besides our personal name, but I guess you can kind of touch on a few things there from your own personal experience.
Yeah, definitely. It's not always the right situation. So again, like what I said before, don't think because you purchase something in your personal name after hearing this, you need to go out and purchase something in a trust or a company and, freak out. A lot of the times, savvy accountants, a lot of the times the advice will be, hey, you're good to stay in the, your own personal name for the time being. There is, though, going to be a time when you do get to that ceiling, potentially prior to having that conversation. And again, we're kind of going off topic here, but having your broker, having your accountant, having you and, if you've got a buyer's agent all speaking together and all on the same page, that is the difference between someone having 2 properties and 5 properties. Just everyone being on the same team. But yeah, absolutely. I love my trusts and love my companies that I purchase my properties under.
The reason why I'll kind of touch on there, people might be listening go, how's that work? Because now, once again, full disclaimer, I'm not a mortgage broker, I'm a licensed mortgage broker, but how it kind of works is some lenders will not include the trust debt or the company debt when you're going for a loan, or vice versa, your personal debt, depending on which lender you're going with and how you structured the loan. And so then, of course, your borrowing capacity will be quite high still. So that's where you can, increase your borrowing capacity or keep moving forward and then not maximize your personal borrowing capacity or use the borrowing capacity in the trust or the company. Okay, so it's quite a nifty way, and it helps increasing the borrowing capacity. Now, there is some pros and cons investing in a trust or a company, of course, as well. So please make sure you always speak to your licensed professionals to understand that, and make sure you understand the risks as well by investing in these different entities as well.
Yep, love it. One thing I might add just before we finish up, and we're pretty quick. So there you go, guys. 15 minutes of action-packed stuff. Obviously, if you're a business owner, a lot of this stuff is very, very different. Very, very different. Again, I think full disclaimer, not an accountant, not a broker. But as a business owner, there is the beauty of going down what we call a low documentation road, which is a loan, separate type of loan for business owners. And you can do some nifty things with that. I won't touch too much on it, but if you are maxed out, but you do have your own business, you do have the ability ultimately to keep lending, which is a beautiful thing that you can do if you are running your own business. But that's it. So let's just to summarize, right at the top, the most important thing is increase your income. Now that's for a range of things, not just property. Increasing your income means that lifestyle, you can do more with, finances, but increasing your income, if we're talking about property, that is going to be the biggest dictator of how much you can borrow. That's the first thing. Increasing your rental income, rental increases annually, renovations, granny flats, student aid comms, all those cool things. Refinancing, getting a lower interest rate, getting your broker to actively help you with that every 6 months, 12 months, looking at that, getting rid of all that really ugly debt, or minimizing the credit card limit. That really, really helps, as you used in your example. Student loans, personal loans, car loans, try to remove all of that. And also in the same token, cutting your expenses, which we might actually in the notes add a little link to our budget calculator, which will really, really help you, give you a real overview and kind of clarity of where you're spending your money, what you're not shouldn't be spending and what not. You added another point to saving more money for a deposit. So trying to do that, which is kind of maybe a result of everything that we've just mentioned there. Reducing your debt on your PPR, so moving that to P&I, keeping the investment properties to interest only. Again, speak to your broker. Don't listen to exactly what we're saying, but reducing your PPR debt, pumping that down as fast as you possibly can. Extending your term, so extending your mortgage terms to a longer period, 30 years. That obviously reduces the repayments on a monthly basis, which is really, really cool. And then the beautiful trust company and purchasing properties in different entities, which is always, I won't say always, which sometimes can also assist you and can get you into another property or another few properties, depending on how you structure things. But did I miss anything there, Frank?
No, yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think definitely, again, I guess, like you said, if this resonates with you, don't think that you need to jump at these things ASAP. I think just start from the top and work your way down, really. And some things you really don't have to do, depending on your circumstances and what your motives are as well. But I think if you're someone listening to this and you're kind of max your borrowing capacity, I think just even having a conversation with your employer can definitely go a long way, and you'll be surprised of what that can do. But hopefully this helps. If you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I think the budget calculator will definitely help with just to even have a look at your profit and loss from your financial position. And then you can see what you're saving and what you're spending your money on, and, go from there really, and just start laying the foundations.
Yeah, for sure. So again, maybe a bit extra, but just to really kind of crystallize everything that we've spoken about, every 6 months, I myself personally will look at all of these things, look at all my properties, look at all my, my expenses. I look at that on a weekly basis, but look at everything that we've kind of mentioned today and go, cool, what can I do? Sure. It may take a few hours, may save you thousands of dollars every single year, may increase borrowing capacity, may do all that stuff. So actually putting this in the calendar every 6 months to do these things, it just becomes second nature now. I've been doing that for a very long time, and it just really, really helps. Also gives you clarity of where you're at and a bit of a check-in for yourself and your portfolio. So I hope that helps. I'm very excited for the next podcast. We won't mention that now. There'll be a few teasers coming out, but as always, thank you very much, Frank, and see you in the next podcast.
Thanks again, guys. See you next week. Ciao.